Just when it felt like the Cleveland Browns might finally be turning a corner. New season, new energy, the fanbase cautiously sipping the Kool-Aid. Kevin Stefanski goes and hits the panic button on player development like it's a fire alarm in a burning building. And the worst part? It wasn't even an emergency. It was a blowout. A gift-wrapped opportunity to get your future quarterback some real-time NFL reps.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
But nope. That opportunity was parked on the bench with a headset and a blank stare. Because while the Browns were comfortably ahead of the Miami Dolphins, up by multiple scores in complete control of the game, Stefanski decided to stick with Dillon Gabriel, the safe, reliable, already proven option, and left rookie Shedeur Sanders riding pine. Yeah, you read that right. No garbage time. No fourth-quarter reps. Not even a token series to get his feet wet. And if you think the fanbase took that quietly, you clearly haven't been near Cleveland Twitter, local radio, or the sound of 20,000 fans yelling, "Put him in," like it was a church hymn. Let's break this down. This wasn't just any game. This was a game tailor-made for a rookie quarterback to get a taste. Low risk, high reward. The perfect sandbox to run some plays, make a few mistakes, and start learning what it feels like to be under the lights. The kind of opportunity that, if you're a coach who's actually thinking long-term, you jump on. But Kevin Stefanski? He went full stubborn mode. Kept Gabriel in until the final whistle like he was protecting a one-score lead in the AFC Championship. Except, it wasn't. It was a regular season game they were already winning comfortably. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about reps. This is about trust. This is about the message you're sending to the entire locker room. When your supposed franchise QB of the future can't even get into a blowout game, what exactly are you saying? You're saying he's not ready. You're saying you don't trust him. Or worse, you're saying you don't want the noise. Because let's be real, if Shedeur goes in and lights it up for 2 drives, the headlines write themselves. QB controversy brewing? Did Stefanski pick the wrong guy? Shedeur's season starting sooner than expected? Maybe that's what Stefanski was trying to avoid. The drama. The media frenzy. The pressure from above. But guess what, Kev? That already exists. You're coaching in Cleveland. There is no such thing as quiet quarterback management. There is no such thing as, let's keep the future under wraps. Not when your team just used a top draft pick on one of the most talked about prospects in college football. And let's not forget, you didn't even want him starting to begin with. That decision came from upstairs, remember? You wanted Gabriel. You got overruled. The fans didn't forget. The media didn't forget. And Shedeur? Pretty sure he didn't forget either. So now, when you finally get the chance to show you're on board with developing this kid, when you finally get a stress-free, scoreboard-friendly window to start building some momentum, you bail. It's not just a missed opportunity. It's a statement. A subtle one, but a loud one. And the fanbase heard it. Because the thing about Cleveland fans? They've seen this cycle too many times. The cautious coach who plays not to lose. The kid with talent who gets buried in favor of the more experienced option. The front office that talks about building for the future, while the coach clings to the present like his job depends on it. And maybe Stefanski is just coaching for survival at this point. Maybe he knows the leash is short. Maybe he figures that keeping Gabriel in and racking up easy wins is the only thing keeping him in that building. But that's the exact problem. You can't build a sustainable, winning franchise if your head coach is constantly coaching with one eye on his resume. You need vision. You need guts. And on Sunday, Kevin Stefanski showed neither. Because Shedeur Sanders needed those reps. And the Browns needed Shedeur Sanders to get those reps. This is a kid who's supposed to carry your franchise into the next decade. He's been given the media treatment, the fan hype, the face of the future label. And yet, when the moment came to take even the smallest step forward, the coaching staff treated it like a landmine. What? Is it because they don't believe in him yet? Is it because they don't want to mess with the rhythm? Or is it because they're terrified of what might happen if Shedeur actually shows something? Because let's be honest, the only thing more dangerous to a coach trying to hold on to a starter is a backup with juice. And Shedeur? He's got juice. You can feel it. The players feel it. The fans feel it. He walks like he's been here before. But none of that matters if he's never allowed to show it. And that's what this whole Dolphins game should have been. A confidence builder. A bridge between film room theory and real-time execution. Even just a few snaps to establish rhythm. The basics. Get the headset communication going. Read a live defense. feel the timing of NFL speed. Instead, he got to hold a clipboard and watch Dillon Gabriel play another snap. And another. And another. And look, this isn't about bashing Gabriel. The guy has been solid. He's done everything asked of him. But everyone knows he's not the long-term answer. He's not your investment. He's not the face of the franchise you're trying to shape. And in a moment that screamed, "Start shaping the future," Stefanski hit pause. You want to talk player development? This is exactly how you stunt it. You can't grow a quarterback in theory. You can't baby-step your way into greatness. At some point you have to let the kid play. And if you won't do that up 3 scores in the fourth quarter, when will you? And yeah, maybe Stefanski thinks he's protecting Shedeur, keeping him out of a game that's already in hand. Avoiding distractions. That would make sense if this were week 1. Or if Shedeur were dealing with some kind of injury. Or if the team were desperately clawing for playoff position. But none of that was true. This was a textbook, get him in, see what happens scenario. And they blew it. Now the locker room is asking questions. The media is asking questions. And worst of all, Shedeur's probably asking questions. Silently. Privately. But it's happening. Like, what's the plan here? Are they actually grooming him to take over, or just waiting until the front office forces their hand again? Because right now it looks like Stefanski is playing to win the week, not the season. And that might get him another game or 2. But it won't get this team anywhere meaningful. And fans? They've had enough of that. The short-term hustle. The playoff push, that dies in week 15. The musical chairs at quarterback. The careful game plans designed to not screw it up, instead of go win it. This team has the pieces to do something special. A young core. An aggressive defense. And a quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, who could be the real deal if they just let him play football. But right now, they're wasting time. Wasting snaps. Wasting momentum. And for what? Another half-dozen throws from Dillon Gabriel? A few more drive charts that make Stefanski feel safe? It's not enough. Not in Cleveland. Not anymore. The Dolphins game should have been a turning point. A soft entry. A moment where the coaching staff showed they get it. That they see the big picture. Instead, it became a missed opportunity. A red flag. The Shedeur Sanders benching against the Dolphins is just the surface-level drama. The real story is what's happening behind the decision. And when you zoom out, it gets even messier. Let's be honest, Stefanski didn't just choose not to play Shedeur. He chose to send a message. And whether he meant to or not, that message wasn't subtle. He looked at a blowout game, one that practically begged for a young quarterback to get developmental reps, and said, "Not today." Now let's ask the question nobody else seems willing to bring up. Is this personal? Because, sorry, it's starting to feel personal. Ever since Shedeur was drafted, there's been tension around his role. He wasn't Stefanski's guy. That much has been clear. The pick reportedly came from upstairs. The same upstairs that's been breathing down Stefanski's neck for 2 seasons. The same upstairs that suggested Shedeur be given a legitimate shot to start, even after Gabriel had clearly earned first-team reps early in camp. And Stefanski? He's been on eggshells ever since. Playing it cool in the press conferences. Giving generic quotes. "We like what we're seeing from all our guys." Classic coach speak. But on the field? His actions have been way louder than his words. Keeping Shedeur sidelined during the Dolphins game wasn't just conservative coaching. It was a power move. A flex. A quiet, "I'm still in charge here" moment. And if you're paying attention, that's terrifying. Because now it's not about quarterback development. It's not even about winning. It's about control. It's about Stefanski asserting himself in a situation where he clearly feels undermined. Let's not forget, he's a head coach on the hot seat. Every snap is an audition. Every week is a job interview. And when you've already been overruled on your quarterback depth chart, you start clinging to the few decisions you still get to make. So what does he do? He plays the guy he feels most comfortable with. The one who won't draw headlines. The one who fits his system. The one who won't make him look bad. But the irony? That safe decision is exactly what's exposing him. Because you know who saw through that move in real time? Everyone. The fans knew what was up. The analysts knew what was up. Even the players knew what was up. You think they're blind to locker room politics? Please. NFL players have internal radar that's sharper than any media leak. When a coach makes a move that reeks of ego or insecurity, the locker room knows before the press does. And what do you think that does to morale? If you're a young guy trying to break into the rotation, what are you thinking when you watch Shedeur, one of the highest profile rookies on the roster, get 0 reps in a cakewalk of a fourth quarter? You're thinking, so this isn't about performance. This is about favoritism. About agendas. About optics. And now you've got cracks in the culture. Because once players stop believing that reps are earned, the trust is gone. This is how locker rooms fracture, not through shouting matches or screaming fits, but through quiet, unspoken moments like this. When the team sees a coach protect his pride instead of prepare for the future. And what about Shedeur himself? Nobody's saying it out loud, but if you're that kid, if you were drafted with huge expectations publicly touted as the next big thing, and then completely ignored in a perfect game situation, how are you supposed to feel? He's not dumb. He knows the cameras are on him. He knows everyone's watching. He's sitting there with a helmet in hand, watching Gabriel throw routine passes against soft coverage, knowing this could have been him. Should have been him. And now he has to walk into team meetings pretending it's all good. He has to sit in film sessions and act like it wasn't a slap in the face. He has to shake hands with a coach who just told the world, without saying a word, "I'm still not ready to trust you." That does something to a player. It chips away at your confidence. It makes you question everything. And for a young quarterback, that's dangerous. Because QB isn't just a skill position. It's psychological warfare. You need your head right. You need momentum. You need belief. And right now, Shedeur isn't just fighting to prove he can lead this team. He's fighting to believe this team actually wants him to. That's a brutal place to be. And here's the part that really gets under your skin. The Browns needed that momentum shift. They needed to start flipping the energy around Shedeur. Getting him reps. Building his presence. Creating a sense of inevitability about his future role, not just uncertainty. Because right now, the quarterback situation is floating in limbo. Dillon Gabriel is doing what he can, but he's clearly a short-term bridge. He's not the long-term identity of the team. The fans know it. The analysts know it. Gabriel probably knows it. And Shedeur? He's supposed to be the future. But instead of building toward that future, they're stuck in this weird purgatory, afraid to fully commit but too stubborn to pivot. It's the most Browns thing ever. And let's not gloss over the PR damage here either. Cleveland had a chance to control the narrative. To show that even in wins they're thinking big picture. That this isn't just another 9-8 season on the treadmill to nowhere. That they see the horizon. Instead they doubled down on short-term optics. They kept the status quo. They played it safe. And in doing so they created more questions than answers. What's the timeline for Shedeur? What's the actual plan? Is there a plan? Because from the outside looking in, it feels like the Browns are afraid of their own quarterback room. Afraid to shake things up. Afraid to put the rookie in. Afraid of the headlines. But those headlines are coming anyway. You can delay them. You can spin them. You can try to outcoach them. But the longer Shedeur sits, the louder the questions will get. And when the next game gets ugly, or the offense stalls, or Gabriel has a meh game against a better defense, everyone will look back at the Dolphins game and say, that's when you should have started building something. Instead you built nothing. Worse, you built tension. So now the pressure is even higher. The expectations are tighter. And Shedeur's next snaps, whenever they come, won't be soft landings. They'll be hyper-analyzed, high-pressure, emotionally loaded moments. Because you waited too long. You wasted the layup. Now the next shot comes with defenders in your face. And that's coaching malpractice. The Browns had a chance to turn a win into momentum. Instead, they turned it into confusion. And in Cleveland? Confusion is always the first sign of collapse. So what happens next? Does Stefanski finally give Shedeur a shot in a live game? Or does he keep him shelved until the media forces his hand? Does Shedeur continue to play the good soldier? Or do we start seeing signs, body language, quotes, social posts, that he's losing patience? Does this team rally around one direction, or fracture into camps like it always seems to? Because the clock is ticking. And for a franchise that claims to be moving forward, they sure seem stuck in neutral. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did Stefanski just blow a golden opportunity? Is Shedeur being set up to succeed, or sidelined to protect a fragile coaching ego? Tap that subscribe button, because this quarterback situation is only getting messier. And in Cleveland, there's one thing you can always count on. There's a right decision to make. They'll wait just long enough to make the wrong one. We're still going, because you can't possibly think this entire Shedeur-Sanders situation against the Dolphins is just a one-week controversy. No. This is the kind of choice that sends ripples through entire seasons. Through locker rooms, meeting rooms, press rooms, and group chats full of Browns fans losing their collective minds. And let's get into something that's bubbling under the surface of this whole saga. The divide between the old Browns and the Browns they're pretending to be. You know what I mean? This franchise has spent the last few seasons branding itself as a new era. Smart, tough, accountable. The slogans, the clean Instagram graphics, the slow-motion tunnel shots of players walking into the stadium with big energy. They talk about culture, development, long-term vision. They swear they're not the same team that cycled through 32 quarterbacks in 2 decades like Tinder dates. But every once in a while, like say during a meaningless fourth quarter of a game you're already winning, the mask slips. And you remember, oh right, it's still the Browns. Because a real forward-thinking team, one with actual structure and a healthy development pipeline, doesn't play hot potato with the quarterback position. A real contender doesn't bench their future out of fear of stirring the pot. A modern NFL team understands that giving a rookie quarterback real game experience, even for 2 series, even with the second-team offense, isn't a risk. It's a requirement. But in Cleveland, they treat quarterback reps like rare Pokemon cards, too valuable to touch, too fragile to use. Which brings us to the next problem, the disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff. Let's not pretend this isn't happening. We all saw the rift earlier this season when reports surfaced that Stefanski was hesitant to embrace Shedeur as anything more than a long-term project. And the front office? They were seeing dollar signs and headlines. Shedeur is the future. He's our guy. And ever since then, this season has felt like a quiet tug-of-war. One side wants to protect its image of being analytically driven, big-picture savvy, future-focused. The other side just wants to win this Sunday and keep their job for one more week. This Dolphins game? That was the rope snapping. That was the moment Stefanski planted his flag and said, "You may have drafted him, but I decide who plays." And the front office? You can bet they're watching closely. And silently panicking. Because the longer this gap grows between what the franchise is saying and what the coaching staff is actually doing, the harder it's going to be to sell fans on the idea that this team has a plan. Let's also not ignore the national perception that's forming around this mess. Shedeur Sanders is not just another rookie quarterback. He's a national name, a legacy, a brand. People outside Cleveland care what happens with Shedeur. People who normally wouldn't watch a Browns game unless it was in prime time. And the optics of the franchise not playing him, when literally everything lined up for him to get some time. It doesn't look calculated. It looks clueless. That's the kind of moment that sticks in the minds of players across the league. Free agents, media. Because everyone knows the Browns' history with quarterbacks, and everyone's watching to see if they're finally ready to evolve, or still stuck on the same broken loop. This should have been the moment they proved they've learned something. Instead, it felt like the same old Browns just in sleeker packaging. And while we're here, let's talk about what isn't happening on the sidelines that absolutely should be: mentorship. Where's the game plan for easing Shedeur in? Who's talking to him between drives? Who's going over film with him mid-game? Who's helping him feel connected to what's happening on the field? Because by all accounts, Shedeur looked disengaged. Not mopey or selfish, just removed. Like he wasn't even part of the game plan. And that's a failure. On multiple levels. The sideline is where quarterbacks are built. It's where you ask questions, learn tendencies, feel the rhythm of the game. Even when you're not playing, you're absorbing. But that only happens if you're invited in. If the coach brings you close. If the starter says, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing." If the headset gets passed over and you're allowed to listen in. You don't build a quarterback by benching him physically and mentally. That's not development. That's isolation. And don't think the rest of the team isn't seeing it too. Quarterbacks, especially rookies, need advocates in the building. They need someone going to bat for them when they're not in the room. Right now, it doesn't feel like Shedeur has that in Stefanski. Which raises the even bigger question. If the coach isn't behind this kid, what happens when the pressure ramps up? Because it will. It always does in Cleveland. A bad half. A losing streak. A few social media rumblings. The headlines start creeping in. Time for a change? Is Shedeur ready? Why is the kid still sitting? And when the calls for Shedeur grow louder, not just from fans but from inside the building, is Stefanski going to back him? Or hide behind Gabriel until the last possible second? You know what makes quarterback controversies toxic? Uncertainty. Players can smell it. And it fractures teams faster than any injury or interception ever could. But here's the kicker, the ironic part of all this. Kevin Stefanski could have avoided this whole mess. All of it. He had the perfect excuse. A lead against a non-conference opponent. A quiet fourth quarter. An opportunity to let the kid throw a few safe passes, hand off a few times, maybe even roll out on a designed bootleg. Just enough to say, "We're preparing him. We believe in him." And instead, he did nothing. And now, the story is bigger. The pressure is worse. The speculation is louder. Because when you don't give people a reason, they'll create one. And right now, Cleveland fans are creating a lot of reasons. They're asking if Stefanski is threatened. If he's trying to delay the inevitable. If he's holding Shedeur back out of fear, out of ego, or out of spite. That might not be true. But it doesn't matter. Because that's the story now. And that's the real damage from this Dolphins decision. Not the missed reps. Not the waste of a developmental opportunity. The damage is the narrative it created. That Shedeur Sanders isn't being nurtured. That the Browns don't know what they're doing. That Kevin Stefanski is coaching for himself, not the future. And worst of all, that nothing's actually changed. So what happens next? Well, the leash is shrinking. Not just on the quarterback situation but on Stefanski himself. He may have won the Dolphins game on the scoreboard, but he lost the locker room edge. The momentum. The belief that he sees the big picture. And if Shedeur continues to sit and the offense stumbles, the pressure to make the change will become unbearable. We'll all look back at the Dolphins game and say, that's when it should have started. But instead it became yet another Cleveland chapter. A cautionary tale of wasted time, ignored momentum, and a team still trying to outrun its own shadow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did Stefanski just put his job on the line? Is Shedeur already losing valuable time? And are the Browns about to let history repeat itself again? Tap that subscribe button because this quarterback drama is far from over. In Cleveland, the games may end after 4 quarters. But the chaos? Well, that runs all year.